The tragic, nervous revelations, the virgin faintings and tears, having observed quite many cases, Eugene hated those things. Eccentric man, amid the banquet, he was already very angered, but noting the virgin's inspiration and looking down with frustration, he pouted, and in indignation he wanted Lenski to get mad, and certainly to get avenged. Now, in triumphant anticipation, he started drawing on the breath cartoons on all the present guests. Of course, Eugenie wasn't alone who saw Tatiana stupefy, but aim of glances and all thought was at the time a fatty pie, unfortunately oversalted, and in a package sealed and bottled between the roast and dessert, they bring Tsimlanska to serve with a formation of wine glasses, a repetition of your waistline, Zizi, the crystal of my life, the object of my guiltless stanzas, the most attractive phial of love, the one of whom I have been drunk. Having been freed from moist spray, the bottle clapped, the wine sputters, and now, with majestic sway, having been martyred by the couplet, Triquet stands up, outstanding meeting, retains silence as a greeting. Tatiana, half alive, half dead. Triquet, standing with a sheet in hand, sang out of tune, applause and praise, salute and hail, which will bring her to drop a curtsy to the singer. The poet, modest, though great, drinks toast to her health the first, and hands her out the couplet. Came greetings and salutations, Tatiana thankful to them all, but when it came to Onegin, then was the virgin's languid eyeballs, her great confusion, and withal that bred compassion in his soul, he bowed silently her wise, but the expression of his eyes was very tender. It may be well because he was indeed concerned, or maybe he just misbehaved, involuntary or through good will. That gaze had tender look, in fact. It brightened up Tatiana's heart. The loud noise of moving chairs, the mob is flowing to the hall. In this way, bees from dainty cares fly to the field in noisy swarm. Content with holiday and cater, a neighbor is snuffling at a neighbor. The dames sat down next to fire. The virgins whisper in the choir. Green tables are open and in wait. Some are expecting solid gains. Boston and umber for old players, and whist in fashion up to date. Quite a monotonous existence, the boredom's brothers and her sisters. They have already played 8 rubbers, the heroes of the whist, 8 rounds. The places were changed many times. They bring the tea. I love the hours to be announced to tea, to dine, or supper. We well know the time in village going to no great pains. The stomach our truth retains. And apropos, I note in braces that in my stanzas I do speak as frequently about feasts as you, O Mir of higher graces, about foods, meals, and desserts, you idol of 300 years. But tea is coming. Virgins smartly took saucers barely in their hands, and in the long lounge very suddenly forgotten flute blew off with strength, made happy by music thunderclaps, leaving teacups with added schnapps. The Paris of little district town, Olga is fetched by Petushkov, Tatiana is picked up by Lensky, Karlikova, the bride of quite mature age, is taken by my Tambov sage, Buyanov abducted Pustakova. Now everyone is in the ring, the ball is shining at full swing. In the beginning in my script, please have a look at volume 1, a ball at Petersburg to depict. I had intended like Alban, but entertained by empty action, I got entangled in recollection of my familiar lady's legs. After your tender, narrow tracks, oh legs, I am so weary of oversighting. With change of my youthful days, the time has come to change my ways, both in action and in writing, so that this volume number 5 be cleared out of derives. Monotonous and out of mind, as whirlwind of the youthful fun, the whirlwind of the waltz goes wild. The pairs flicker one by one. Approaching the moment of reprisal, Onegin, secretly derisive, comes up to Olga promptly. Those rub shoulders amidst the callers, and seating her upon a chair, they start discussing things together. About 2-3 minutes further, he goes on to waltz with her. All are amazed, Lensky surprised. He disbelieves his own eyes. Mazurka started. Long ago, when sounded Mazurka's thunder, there was huge shaking of the walls. Parquet was cracking all asunder. The frames of windows shook and jingled. Now we have become like ladies' fingers, glide on the varnish-covered boards, but in the towns and rural wards, Mazurka has till now retained its prime attraction and its charm. The skips, the heels, the big alarm remain utterly unchanged. Our tyrant, valiant fashion, the ailment of modern Russians. Buyanov, my vivacious brother, approached our hero headlong, escorted by Olga and Tatiana. Onegin and Olga went along. He leads her carelessly gliding, and bending down, fondly smiling, repeating some improper verse, pressing her hand and brightly burned in her conceited, touchy face. The flush, my Lensky, poor soul, who sat and who had seen it all, in indignation was embraced, while Mazurka was still on, and called her for the cotillon. But she cannot. What is it, cannot? Olga has already given word. Onegin, oh my dear God, what does she hear? She could not. How can it be? Just from the cradle, coquette, an easy-minded baby. She is too cunning, not quite alien, and to betray she has been trained, unable to sustain the blow, and cursing all female force. He goes out, mounts a horse, and rides. There is nowhere to go. 2 bullets, there is nothing else that will enable to save his face.